A dramatic weather pattern flip is taking place across the United States right now, and it's absolutely not normal for February. This pattern change is about to drive a much more active stretch of weather as we head deeper into this month. And frankly, what we're seeing should not be happening yet. After days of extreme cold along the East Coast that had us all bundled up and shivering, a powerful ridge is now building across the central United States, allowing historically warm air to surge northward and fundamentally change the entire atmospheric setup going forward. As this unseasonably warm air expands eastward, a sharp temperature boundary is going to set up right across the middle of the country. That boundary is where things get very interesting from a meteorological standpoint and potentially dangerous from a severe weather perspective. Multiple storm systems are expected to form along this temperature boundary, dramatically increasing the chances for heavy snow on one side and severe weather on the other as we approach the middle of February. One storm signal that's really standing out to me in the computer models is developing right around Valentine's Day. Model guidance continues to suggest a developing low-pressure system that could bring a classic split impact scenario, the potential for severe thunderstorms and tornadoes on the warm side, while producing heavy snow on the cold side, depending on where that critical temperature boundary ultimately sets up. In today's forecast, I'm going to break down exactly what you need to know about this dramatic weather pattern change that's about to unfold. But first, I want to start with something absolutely fascinating that happened yesterday on Lake Erie. We have a massive ice crack that has developed all across central Lake Erie, just off to the north of Cleveland, Ohio. This dramatic ice fracture is mostly because of the temperature changes and strong winds that have been impacting these areas over the last few days. These types of ice cracks are actually very common, especially when our ice coverage reaches extremely high levels, like we're seeing now. Right now on Lake Erie, the ice coverage is sitting at about 95%. That's actually at very high levels for this time of year, which makes these dramatic fractures more likely to occur. This ice situation is going to continue to evolve, which could make it genuinely dangerous. If you're planning any activities on the ice at all, definitely exercise extreme caution because this type of ice movement is going to be common as temperatures continue to fluctuate dramatically. Now, on the complete flip side of this ice situation, a major weather pattern transformation is about to happen across the United States. For those along the East Coast, do you remember when it was brutally cold just a few days ago? Even for many of you right now, temperatures are still running below average. Well, that's all about to change in a dramatic way. Right now, we have a very large ridge building across the Great Plains region, and what this atmospheric setup is doing is pumping much warmer air northward from the Gulf of Mexico. In some areas today, we're actually going to experience record-breaking heat as far north as Iowa, South Dakota, and Nebraska. These are areas that could see temperatures climbing into the 70s today. Folks, we're in February. This hardly ever happens where we have 70-degree high temperatures in areas like Iowa, including Des Moines. This is the kind of weather we'd expect to see in April or May, not the second week of February. Eventually, as we progress into Tuesday and Wednesday, that heat wave is going to start to diminish somewhat across the northern plains as a relatively weak cold front makes its way across Kansas, Oklahoma, and back up into Wisconsin. But don't get too excited if you're hoping for a return to normal winter weather. On the flip side, Tuesday will bring well above average temperatures across the Northeast, Ohio Valley, and extending back into Texas. This warm air surge is going to be remarkable for this time of year. Then on Wednesday, a storm system that's currently located over Canada will make its way into New England, and that will allow below average temperatures to surge back into parts of the mid-Atlantic region. That cold front will stretch all the way down into Texas, creating a dramatic temperature contrast across the country. This particular storm system is going to be relatively weak for most of the United States. Really, the biggest change will be the temperature variations over the next 5 to 7 days rather than any major precipitation events. By the end of this week, we're going to see some colder air return once again along the East Coast. Warm air will continue dominating across the Great Plains region, and along the West Coast, we'll have below average temperatures for areas like California, Oregon, and Washington. What's going to be very interesting during this week is that we'll have significantly more moisture moving into the Rocky Mountain region, and that should promote some substantial mountain snowfall. That really isn't something we've seen a whole lot of this winter season, which has been a major concern for water resources and ski resorts. For those of you near the Rockies, there are some excellent snow chances developing by next weekend and continuing into early next week. This could be exactly what the region needs after a notably dry winter season. Right around the middle of February, it doesn't look like this warm air pattern is going anywhere anytime soon. This could suppress major winter storms for at least some period of time across the United States, at least for areas across the southern plains and southeast. I don't see any southern winter storms on the immediate horizon yet, but I do think sometime around or just after February 15th, we're going to see another major Arctic blast develop. It's really only a matter of time until the polar vortex unleashes cold air once again. These extreme warm spells in winter rarely last indefinitely. One of the craziest aspects of this weather pattern is that temperatures will be as high as 40 degrees above average today across areas like Iowa, Kansas, and extending back into Oklahoma. This represents where the most significant heat is going to build and establish itself. We'll have a cold front moving through Tuesday and Wednesday, but it's not going to be particularly significant because temperatures will only drop by about 10 to 20 degrees. They're going to warm right back up as we head into Thursday and Friday across the Great Plains. For those in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast regions, many of these areas will be dealing with below average temperatures on and off throughout the week. It's going to be quite a variable mix when it comes to temperatures in these regions, which might actually help promote some isolated snow chances during the middle and end of this week. It looks like it will stay relatively cold for areas in the Northeast as we head into Saturday and Sunday. As of right now, it doesn't appear we have any major Arctic blasts on the immediate horizon, though I do think that situation will change just after February 15th. You might think it's March when you look at today's temperature map. These are the actual high temperatures forecast for today, February 10th, and they're absolutely remarkable. It's going to reach the mid to upper 60s and low to mid 70s in areas like Kansas and Nebraska. Kansas City will hit 67 degrees. Over in southwestern Kansas, we're looking at 77 degrees. I cannot adequately explain how extraordinary that temperature is for this time of year. Even extending back into Tennessee, where we experienced that devastating ice storm just a couple of weeks ago, we're looking at temperatures climbing to around 65 degrees today. This is just incredible weather for February. We're talking about genuinely spring-like conditions developing. The groundhog's prediction doesn't even matter at this point. We're experiencing a truly remarkable weather pattern flip right now. By Tuesday, those temperatures will start to moderate as a cold front moves through. Most of Kansas will return to the 50s for high temperatures tomorrow, which is still above average but more reasonable for February. Wednesday and Thursday, any significant heat will mainly be confined to the Gulf Coast region, but Thursday and Friday, the warm air will once again build aggressively across the central and southern plains. Areas like Dallas and Houston could easily exceed 80 degrees by Friday, which is going to make it feel as if we're experiencing April weather. This is definitely something we'll continue monitoring closely. There's even a real possibility that with how warm it's going to become, we could see a severe weather setup developing across parts of the southern plains and extending beyond next weekend. That heat wave likely isn't going to diminish significantly, as temperatures could still reach the 50s and 60s as far north as Montana, extending all the way down into Texas. This represents a truly unprecedented February warm spell. Over the next 7 days, we're going to experience several different storm systems impacting the United States. The first one is actually happening today and tomorrow, mainly across the Pacific Northwest, where we have light to moderate snowfall developing at higher elevations. This is excellent news for skiers and winter sports enthusiasts who have been dealing with below normal snowpack this season. We also have a large Alberta Clipper system developing right now north of Minnesota, and this is expected to bring heavier snowfall tomorrow to areas like the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and extending into the Northeast. Moderate to heavy snowfall is likely, especially Tuesday and early Wednesday. If you're in New England or near New York City, there will definitely be wintry precipitation. We could see some mixed precipitation, maybe even a little freezing rain if you're in New Jersey, eastern Pennsylvania, and southern New York. The good news is that any ice accumulation that occurs won't be enough to cause significant power outages. However, there could definitely be some slick spots developing on roadways, so exercise caution during your commute. By Wednesday morning, that Alberta Clipper will shift offshore. There will still be some residual snowfall for areas like the Appalachian Mountains and northern New England. Then, as we progress into late Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have a large area of moisture developing over the Rockies and along the west coast. Some heavier snowfall will impact higher elevations once again. More great news for skiing conditions. We'll continue to see lingering snowfall across the northeast region. Thursday is when we're expecting to see that critical temperature boundary form across parts of the central plains and extending into the southeast. This will essentially become our battleground where storm systems are going to attempt to develop as we head into the latter half of this week and the weekend. We're expecting at least a weaker low pressure system to develop Thursday and Friday across Kansas and Oklahoma. Despite this not appearing particularly significant right now, it will bring the possibility of snow showers to parts of the Midwest and showers and thunderstorms across the Deep South on Friday. This could mark the return of isolated severe weather sometime around Friday or Saturday, much earlier in the season than we'd normally expect. Eventually, Saturday and Sunday is when things should become more organized, as we'll have additional moisture streaming in from the Pacific and the Gulf of Mexico. We'll develop an elongated area of showers and thunderstorms, with severe weather becoming possible on Saturday, especially considering how warm it's going to be and all the moisture we'll have in place. On the other hand, we'll also have a large area of rain and snow impacting the Pacific Northwest. That represents an atmospheric river event that's going to dump substantial amounts of snow in a relatively short time period at higher elevations. Saturday and early Sunday, this storm system will continue across the southeast and along the east coast. It's a major question whether this will produce significant snow or not. Right now, it appears it's just going to be very warm this week in these areas. I think severe weather, thunderstorms, and normal rain will be the biggest concerns as we head into next weekend across the mid-Atlantic and southeast regions, maybe a little snow back in the northeast. Once we move beyond February 15th is when things could become much more interesting across the United States. Right now, some computer models are showing a massive winter storm around this time frame, but this is something that will definitely change between now and then. And I do think we'll see at least some Arctic air return, probably accompanied by a much larger storm system around this time period. It's definitely something we'll continue monitoring, but generally speaking, over the next 7 days or so, things are going to remain somewhat quiet for most of the United States when it comes to major winter storms. We should continue seeing substantial rainfall, especially significant snowfall if you're in the Rockies, along the west coast, and in New England. For those who love snow, you need to be in the Northeast, because we already have about a foot of snow on the ground across most of New England. We're about to add another 3 to 6 inches on top of existing accumulations for most of central and northern New England, plus upstate New York. Maybe a couple inches if you're near Buffalo and northwestern Pennsylvania. A good shot of snow is definitely on the way as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday. If you're looking for significant snowfall over the next 7 to 10 days, the odds aren't great unless you're along the west coast, in the Rockies, or in the Northeast. Between now and February 18th, the odds are very low for most of the central plains, extending into the southeast as that heat wave continues building. But for those in New England, we're expecting substantial snowfall Tuesday and Wednesday. Anywhere west along the Rockies, we're anticipating significant mountain snowfall, which will definitely be welcome news for winter sports enthusiasts. This pattern represents one of the most dramatic February warm spells we've seen in recent memory. The fact that we're seeing such extreme departures from normal winter weather patterns this early in the season is truly remarkable and concerning from a climate perspective. That's all the weather analysis I have for you today. This February heat wave should not be happening yet, but here we are dealing with spring-like temperatures while it's still technically winter. Stay tuned for updates on that Valentine's Day storm potential and the eventual return of more typical winter weather patterns.